guys, welcome to the start of the Charmed Conversations, an interview series that focuses on meeting some of the individuals in the hypnosis community and finding out a little more about them. I'm Cy, I'm going to be your host through these conversations, and I've had the benefit of meeting quite a few interesting individuals, both stateside and internationally, who I felt were great individuals to speak about what they see in the community, what got them started, and why they're here. So let's take a few minutes and talk to each one of them, get an idea about where they see the community going, where it's been, how they started, and how they're just like the rest of us. Charmed is a convention focused on hypnosis and education, and it's coming back as Charmed Online 2021 next January. Pre-convention starts on January 14th, with the actual convention running the 15th through the 17th of January. Tickets are on sale now up to through the convention weekend. You can get your tickets through November 30th for the low price of $15, with the price increasing to $25 on December 1st. So act today and save yourself a little bit of green for the holidays. Members of Black Rose and other kink organizations may receive a $5 discount, so check at the registration site for details. One of the best parts of this price is that it also includes the pre-convention and any evening events, which makes it a great price for a weekend that focuses on education, demonstrations, and bringing new and old ideas into the hypnosis community. So feel free to swing over to charmedhypno.org and register today. That's charmed, CHARMED, hypno.org. For the first conversation in the Charmed Conversation series, I figured it'd be good to start with one of the more well-known names in the community. You probably heard him before, and if you haven't, you must not have been in the community for long. Wiseguy, the man who literally wrote the book Mind Play and gave everybody a handbook on how to start off in hypnosis. It's a book that is well read, shared all over the community, and has led to some interesting conversations with a lot of people, I'm sure. So let's hear as we talk to him about how Charmed Convention got started, a little bit about his views in the hypnosis community, and how he got started in hypnosis in general. So here he is, the infamous Wiseguy. Really, the conversation I wanted to start was, like, how did Charmed begin? Was it something that you guys just one day got up and decided you were going to do a convention for everybody?
Well, no, because, of course, there already were conventions. We had Nihu, we had the late unlamented Weehu, we had just had a Mihu. Miss Isis moved from Chicago to the DC area, and she actually was the one that first had the idea. She said, hey, let's do a con here. We have a lot of people here. We can support a con. She pulled me into it. She pulled Turnabout and CU Foil and Tactics, and we became the Charmed One Concom. I came up with the name Charmed. It was a play on the D&D charm spell.
I was wondering where that came from, and that makes so much sense.
That, and of course, Baltimore is known as Charm City.
Oh.
And we were in Baltimore all up until this year. So it made sense. It was a double entendre. It was nice. And it was nothing like Ihu. There was kind of a question about, well, we want to be different. We want to show people that we have our own ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
So we didn't follow the mold for names. We broke it. And of course now it's really broken because the only one still using an Ihu name is, well, Nihu.
Just doesn't have the same ring as other conventions out there. Mindquake, Charmed, Beguiled.
Yep, Heart of Texas.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about Heart of Texas.
First one was really Deep Mind Darkwood to break the mold. Or Camp Mindfuck, which is still the best nickname of all of us.
Absolutely.
You can't say it in polite company, but you know.
So are you going to CMF this year? Oh yeah, absolutely going to CMF.
Yeah.
So what was the original design? I mean, you start a convention because you've got everybody who's there, but
Yeah.
Like, did you guys start off as being trying to go for education, or was it just more for play at the beginning?
No, it was always all about the education. Part of that is because we, unlike pretty much everybody else, we actually partnered with Black Rose and they sponsored us. That's still true. And it's done a couple of things. It's done a lot for us and it's done a couple of things against us. But that meant from year one, we had liability insurance and we had somebody to cover the bills and all that, which was very nice. But since Black Rose is an educational group, they are all about educating people in the kinks. Our core mission has always been to educate peoples, to give them classes. And that's why usually we have more classes than anybody. Because that's, well, A, we tend to have more people than anybody. And B, that's what we're all about. So the evening activities are extra. That is to say, they're bonus on top of the classes. And getting to see friends and all that is bonus.
Now, for everybody who may not know who Black Rose is, can you kind of give a little bit of who they are?
Well, I could go into the spiel about how they represent. Oh shit! I forgot I'd have to look them up on the website. I'm not going to do that. They are a DC area kink group. They've been around for a very long time. They were on top of the world for a while, and then they kind of got into a fight with Black Rose and almost disappeared. Now they're coming back. They're coming back partly because of the revenue they've gotten from Charmed. And that's okay, because that has bought us a lot of goodwill.
I'm sure.
But you can think of them as analogous to TESS or the Society of Janus or any of the other kink organizations, except that Black Rose prides itself on holding classes in all kinds of different venues, usually dungeons, but they will teach anything that people will show up for. They'll give a class on.
Yeah, that's cool.
Any kink you can think of, they've done. And it's a cool thing.
Well, and it was smart on your guys' part to partner up with an organization such as that at the very beginning. Like you said, not only from an insurance perspective, monetarily supporting you, but allowing you to kind of get some firm ground underneath you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't a hard decision because a couple of the original ConCom members, CU Foil and Turnabout, were running the Hypnosis SIG for Black Rose. So it was an obvious thing to do. It gave us a great foot in the door. It gave us, in the beginning, that first year, it got us some help. And, and Tactics was also in Black Rose then. So we had a great connection because they had the SIG and they could just tell people at the SIG, hey, we're going to do this. And they got all excited and they told their friends and they told their friends. And that helped a lot the first year because we were really trying to figure out what we were doing because none of us had run a con before other than ISIS.
Oh, okay. So, like the first year that it happened, what was the stage? Was it just a ballroom at one hotel, or was it like a convention center?
No. It's never been in a convention center. I'd love to get big enough to take over a convention center, but that would bring a whole new set of headaches. I'm sure. No, the first Charmed. Oh God, and there are going to be people listening to this that were there probably. It was at a Ramada Inn by the airport, and that place was a dump. Oh my God, it was so horrible. I think at one point we had one elevator working, which it haunted Charmed for years and years and years, elevators.
I remember hearing something about that. Yeah.
That was the first year. And the one that worked, sometimes it would kind of shudder and shake and make you feel really nervous. Yeah, we had 4 classrooms. 4 classrooms and a con suite. They were kind of dirty classrooms. The whole hotel was dirty. Oh God. Oh man. But it was, it was the first year, and we got the hell out of there right afterwards. I mean, we put out an RFP and looked for hotels. In like February, we were looking for a new hotel.
Wow.
We were not going back there. No way.
Yeah, but at that point, you'd proved the concept worked and you'd be able to sustain yourself.
Yes. So, Black Rose was very supportive. And we made a deal with the Holiday Inn in Baltimore, which was the first year it was a nice venue. And then it kind of started going downhill. The biggest problem with it, we went up to 7 classrooms, one of which was really kind of small. But it was at the very top of the hotel, which used to be a revolving restaurant. And it probably was really cool because you could sit there and look out the window. On this side, you'd see Camden Yards, and on that side, you'd see the Ravens Stadium. And, it was right in the middle of touristy Baltimore. But it wasn't expensive. So we could afford to have the 7 rooms there. We had a con suite there. It was really nice, and we did well there. But the hotel itself kind of started going downhill. And the problem with the rotating restaurant was that meant there were no stairs that went up to those last 2 floors.
Oh.
So if the elevators were not working, you had a problem. And typically, the load of people we brought in there was enough that at least 1, maybe 2 of the 4 elevators would be down most of the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, elevators. So we went looking for a new hotel after 2019. And the first thing we said to ourselves is, there's got to be a way to get there with stairs.
Yes.
I mean, the Holiday Inn had stairs, but they were outside the building because they were the fire.
Oh, gotcha.
And that in January is not always a wonderful thing.
Yeah, this last January was not exactly gentle, and I'm from the Midwest, so I can absolutely believe that. Nobody wants to go up and down multiple flights of stairs on the outside of a building that probably has some wind blowing against it.
Yeah. It was nasty. But the holiday that prompted us to move to Annapolis.
Gotcha.
And this year was the first year we were in Annapolis, and we love that hotel. They love us. They love us so much that they were willing to postpone us for a year, basically without fee. They kept our deposit and applied it to next year. So that means, well, that's why Charmed 2021 online is only $15.
Nice.
All we have to pay for basically is Zoom. Because that's not free.
No.
We have to pay for Zoom and a couple of basic supplies. We're not going to have to print booklets. That was something we did the first year. It was the first time a con had done that. A lot of cons have done it since, and a lot of them have stopped doing it, and I kind of understand why.
I'm sure last-minute changes could be an absolute burden on something like that.
Especially with a print schedule.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I figure I'm still going to produce it, but this time it'll be an ebook. Either PDF or actual ebook format. And that way people can still have it with them if they want.
Honestly, the schedule system that you guys had last year was a saving grace for me, just because I run around with a smartphone all the time, but I could look, see the classes, where they were, the times, had it on my schedule, everything's blocked off. That was a great system. I
like pre-talks. We're using it again. What I really like about it, if I'm totally honest, is I didn't have to write it. I was working on coding my own system, and it's such a pain that when I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, that's like current? Oh yeah, let's go with that. And I just threw away what I had for my system and used pre-talks. It has a couple of deficiencies. The printed it doesn't do printed schedules very well. But on the other hand, this year we're not going to need one.
Yeah. And there's always ways around that, so.
Yeah, there are. If I think about them in advance, there are always ways around it.
So, comparing like the original first Charm to now, do you guys feel like you've still kind of kept the original vision in place? You know, still being focused on education, still being focused on bringing the community kind of all in one spot?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've played with the schedule every year. And I think in 2020, I hit on the happy medium. One year we had 110 classes.
Wow.
And that was ridiculous. It was horrible. Everybody was rushed. There was no time around. I knew we weren't doing that again. Last year, because we had to give up some time because we didn't have the full run of the space all weekend, we only had 86 classes.
Still.
Yeah, I know. I say only 86, but yeah, that's still, it's a decent number. In our normal schedule, if I had the room for the whole time, all the rooms, we would have had about 92.
Now, are you including your pre-con in that?
No, pre-con is separate.
And then also all the uncon stuff too, all the random classes everybody threw together at the end.
Yep, I don't count those either because I don't know what they're going to be.
Right.
So I had 86 scheduled classes. Normally, the schedule grid that I used for 2020, if I take back the slots we had to give up to make sure we had noise barriers and whatnot, we'll have about 92.
Wow.
This year, of course,
it's online.
It's online. Frankly, it's going to depend on how many class proposals I get.
Right.
Because we can scale this thing. We can have 6 rooms, we can have 4 rooms, we can have 8 rooms. It's a question of how many classes I have that we like, that are good, that we want to put on. So, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So far, it's only just been a little trickle in, but that's fine. People are doing Mindquake and all that good stuff. That's why we have our deadline is November 31st this year instead of October 31st. Well, that, and again, because we don't have to do as much, I can have less time on the schedule and still put it out probably in mid-December.
Yeah.
So people will know what they're going to see, and we can make changes as we go. If we find if people say that, hey, look, that's too soon, I need more time, and I'd like to give you more things, we have the option of saying, okay, you know what? We'll take proposals for another 2 weeks, and we'll see what we get, and maybe we expand the con. Or, it depends. But I thought we would do that. I'm also thinking, I also thought, since we're virtual, let's change the pre-con around a little bit, and instead of being just a couple of 8-hour classes, let's see if we go down to 4 hours, can we get some other ideas in?
Yeah.
Because there's some people that want to do it, but 8 hours is a long time to teach, and I get that. I mean, I've taught for 3 days before, and it's a pain, and a lot of people don't want to do that, and I understand. But 4 hours they can handle half a day basically. And that gives people that go to the pre-con an opportunity to do more than one thing.
Yeah.
They could do 2 things. And the pre-con isn't going to cost us any more money, so if you register for Charmed, you're registered for the pre-con.
Which is great.
Everybody can go.
The amount of time that gives you, versus an hour class, 4 hours to be able to go through advanced material, to hear more, to maybe do demonstrations, or just have larger conversations about things. That's just great.
It should work out really well. I'm really excited to see what people come up with.
So, from Charm perspective, what's some of your favorite classes to kind of see being brought in every year? Is there specific material you love seeing people do? I know that you're infamous for your kinky tricks, or kinky human tricks.
I went years without teaching that class.
Wow.
Well, it seemed like other people wanted to do it, and then I basically bequeathed it to M. Hypnotic. And he did it once or twice, but then he kind of backed off from teaching. So nobody's been doing it. So and of course it doesn't lend itself to an online format very well.
Right.
So yeah, nobody's done it this year. But the first time I did that in years was actually at Charm 2020, and it was fun.
I was in the audience. It was actually really cool to watch.
Yeah, I was not at my best, but
I mean, you handled everything beautifully. I mean, it really just shows that adaptability that years of experience have given you, because I mean, you handled everything in stride, conversationally, kept focused. It was fun to watch.
I misgendered a couple people, and I still feel bad about that.
You know, honestly, I think that was one of my biggest struggles with the convention as well. Just trying to remember those key lessons. But, you know, as long as you're trying, that's all that matters. And that always shows really well for the convention, because everybody really was trying hard about that.
Yeah, they were. I am so proud of our community and the way that we make people feel welcome, and we go out of our way and we do whatever we have to do to make sure that people feel welcome. That's a wonderful thing, and it's not just ours. It's of course, you know, all the cons are like that.
Right.
But it's been really nice to see that. Really good.
So
things. Anytime Leah Lore wants to do something, I love to see what it is.
Oh, sure.
You know, she's brought some things in that people looked at like, huh? I remember she did a class called Negotiating While Fractionated. People were like, wait a minute, that be a big don't do it. But she handled the material very, very well. She made a lot of really good points, and I thought that was great. I love some of the data-based things that we've had a couple of years. Analytical Puppet has brought in a couple of different study-type topics. Divney has brought in a couple tongue-in-cheek study-type topics. And they've been kind of interesting, and I like to bring that stuff in. One of the nice things about having 80 plus classes is you can make room for things like that.
Yeah.
You know, you can make room for classes in death play, which that's kind of out there.
Right.
But we actually had 2 classes on death play this year, 2020, and one from Rebecca Dahl and James Gordon, one from Ariadne. They were both great. They were different. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's great. The musical Hypnotic Journeys, of course, are tremendous fun. And I love the way Noelle does those. I'm so sorry that Ellie Copter isn't available for those anymore, but Noelle is still carrying them on as she can. And those are always a highlight. So, yeah, I would do a day of those if I could. Noelle would get exhausted.
Oh, I'm sure. But I mean, this last year was my first hypno convention ever, and just seeing the amount of stuff going on, all the topics, it was amazing to just see, oh, look, if there's something about doll play, or if you want to learn about, you know, advanced fractionation, or if you want to learn about, you know, how to navigate mental health with, you know, hypnosis, you know, not from
even without hypnosis, just mental health in the scene. That's another one of those topics that we have space to give.
Yeah.
That, you know, a smaller con has to be more selective about what they can take. Absolutely. So, you know, I like that we can have more than one class on doll play or anything else, really. It's a question of how many proposals we get.
Yeah.
That's, of course, another advantage of the big schedule is I'll take 3 classes on consent because it's important. I'll schedule them on different days.
Yeah.
That way, you know, that whole, well, I want to go to this, but I also want to go to this, and they're at the same time, is less of a problem if that, you know, if one of those classes is the same topic as another one tomorrow. So I like that. That's one of my favorite things about programming Charmed is getting the things in and saying, good, this one's here, then I can put this one on Saturday, this one on Sunday. We are covered.
I think everybody really responds well to that too, because I think that everybody really just that was the conversation. Oh, this is going on at this time. This is going on at this time. Which one do I want to go to? But it wasn't like everybody was running from place to place. The space that you guys provided, the time, open rooms just for individual stuff if you needed to, or just conversations if you needed to do a breakout. It was great.
Yeah, I think we finally have the timing where I want it, so I'll probably keep it a lot like 2020. Because that was good. We didn't start too early. We didn't have a lot of. We had 15 minutes between classes.
Yeah,
and I didn't penalize the classes for that. So they were all a full hour or 2 full hours, depending.
Yeah.
And it worked really, really well. So yeah, we're going to do that.
So
definitely going to do that.
Where do you see Charm going in the next couple of years? Do you see just continuing to grow more space, grow more classes?
There's a practical limit, I think, on classes. At least there's a practical limit on classrooms. We're kind of funny compared to other cons because we use a lot of classrooms compared to the hotel rooms that we commit to. Because we have, a lot of things going on at once. So it's hard to find a hotel with more space that isn't also a lot more expensive, which turns around and means it's a higher room rate for everybody. So, but I'm intrigued by the online aspect, and we might do, and this is just me talking, this is not officially blessed by the Concom, but we might do like an online room where there's some online content next year, even though we're on site. We might have a room where people can go in and teach their class where there's no audience, there's a camera, and they're teaching to the internet.
Or having people from the internet teach in the class as well. I mean, I know that there's plenty of people in Europe.
We did that once.
Yeah.
We did that once. The Episcopalian was in Germany on education, and he tried to remote in and teach a class on Bibos. And people really weren't liking that a whole lot because, because you had to have an open camera and an open mic. People were nervous about their voices. We took a lot of precautions with it, but ultimately it was not the best experience. But on the other hand, if everybody's wearing headphones and everybody's looking, on their own computer, a lot of those concerns go away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we can certainly, we can have, a secret subject from, halfway around the world giving a class, and, hell, we can give a classroom and have her up on the screen for that for people that are willing to do that, but they don't have to. They can also view it from wherever they want to be in private. It's an interesting idea, and I think it might be an interesting way of expanding the con, especially into like Europe and the Western or the Eastern Asian places where it's really expensive to come to the U.S.
Yeah, well, and even more so now with the current situation.
Yeah, or they may not be allowed to come to the U.S. or whatever. But it seems like there might be room for some digital format stuff, even when we go back to being able to get together. And there are going to be people, even in the U.S., that don't feel comfortable yet going to a con and mixing up with 3,000 or 300 people.
Yeah.
Which is, we had 350 at the last physical Charmed. So I can understand somebody not wanting to expose themselves to all those people while we're still kind of all looking out.
Yeah.
Maybe now we're talking 2022. By then, theoretically, we'll have a vaccine. We should have things under control. But who really knows?
Yeah. That's a little ways ahead.
Yeah. But I really think that would be interesting to try to integrate the two.
I think it opens up a lot of doors, especially because I know that there are a lot of people who love the community, would love to. I mean, they don't, I've heard from many people that they don't really have a European HypnoCon, I don't think.
They don't. There's a thing in Wales, but that's Nimja's, and Nimja's a problem.
Gotcha.
There's also Edinburgh, Scotland. They have something every year. Lee has her London Hypnosis workshops every year. But there's not anything like the number and variety. I was actually planning something with Nath. We were going to try to do a European HypnoCon this year, and that kind of blew up.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll try that one again when the smoke and the virus clear. But we'll see.
A lot of things will be that way.
But yeah, Europe is still they're doing small things. They're doing a lot of community meetups and things like that, but they don't have much in the way of centralized big events yet.
I think that's one of the benefits being the U.S. is that whole interstate travel. We have a lot more area. We have a lot more cities versus maybe a lot more travel or cross-country changes over there in Europe.
Yeah, but you know what else that we have? We also have a lot of people that don't actually, don't have vacation time or don't have disposable income where they can just pick up and travel, 4 times a year or whatever. And that's another audience that we could serve better, possibly, by having online content, because there is no reason on earth to charge a huge amount for people to view the online content.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when everything switched over to it, I was disappointed because Charm being my first convention, then all of a sudden finding out that Ihu came just a couple months later in March, I was like, oh, well, that sucks. I would love to go, but I don't have the time, vacation, or money. And then all of a sudden, well, we have an online format. Oh, that's great. And then, everybody moving to it. It's been great for, I think, getting the community together, allowing people a lot more opportunity to see content and just learn.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And again, because there's so little overhead to running it virtually, especially if we've got a physical in-person con happening at the same time, and this is just a piece of it, there's no reason for, to ask those people to pay tremendous amounts of money for that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're all in this for the same thing, which is to learn.
We cover Zoom, and that's it. Everything else is taken care of. So, I would expect that to be also $15, $20, something like that.
Now, how long have you been in the hypnosis community, like as a whole? Longer than you want to admit?
How long has there been a hypnosis community?
That's fair.
No, I don't think it's quite that long. I count my sort of official beginnings in the community at 1999. That's when I published my first story. Yeah. So I'm a little over 20.
But I mean, honestly, I can say from my own personal perspective, if that's your marker, I've been reading stories for almost that same amount of time. So
and I read for several years before I finally wrote something.
Yeah. But, that's kind of the neat thing about it is the community has continued to grow.
Wiseguy 35 out of my email. That's because I was 35 years old when I started using that name for Kink. So I'm now 57.
Got some experience underneath your belt there.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I actually started classically trained as they were. I didn't start in the kink world doing hypnosis. I started doing hypnosis vanilla. And then said, hey, I could bring this into kink.
That must have been a very interesting light bulb the day that happened. And the evil laugh comes out. Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, yes. But that's long time back.
Story for another time. So what about the community do you really enjoy, though? I mean, I know that it's grown, and I'm sure it's changed a lot, but what has been one of the reasons that keeps you around?
Habit? No, No, this community is just it's incredible. There are so many people in it. We all look out for each other.
Yeah.
And that's a rare thing. A lot of other, fandom communities are just like this click here and this click here and this click here. And, we've got elements of that, but there are no real high walls. Everybody will come and help everybody else. And that's a really amazing thing. And at this point, because I've been in it for a long time, one of my favorite things now is I'll just kind of watch people as they play. And it's every once in a while, somebody will come up and do something with somebody that I did years and years ago. And they'll do it well. Not necessarily like me, but they'll do it well.
Yeah.
And, that's just like, I brought that in. Yay!
Well, I mean, I
don't tell them that or anything, but
how many people have your book in hand everywhere they go? The fact that they do reading classes on many Discords, covering every chapter in depth and doing discussions.
Oh wow! I didn't realize there were that many.
Yeah,
I only knew about one.
Yeah. Well, they're low key, I guess. Maybe.
I guess. Well, that and I'm not on Discord that much, but.
Fair. So with that time and seeing them doing it well, do you feel like there have been new tricks figured out over time? Do you think they're all kind of the same thing with different names tied to them, or?
Okay, so that it's been said that there are only 7 basic plots that all stories derive from, right?
Yep.
I kind of think it's the same way with hypnosis. But that's okay. Because things are popular for a while, and then people kind of forget them and move on to something else. They forget that and move on to something else. Somebody's going to think of that older thing and bring it back again, and everybody's going to go, "Wow, that's great! That's brilliant!" and start doing it again. And it's funny because you can see things come and go, and you see them come back again. And there's always a little twist, but because they're so general, people put their own stamp on them. Yeah. So even something as silly as like progressive relaxation induction, it's been around forever. Watch Secret Subject do it. Watch Sex Obsessed Lesbian do it. Watch Ella Enchanting do it. Watch me do it. And you'll see 5 different ways of doing it, and they're not really that much alike.
Yeah.
And the same thing can go for tricks. I do the 5-point palm exploding orgasm technique, right? I've seen other people do that technique and put their own brand on it, and it's beautiful. And it's at the core, it's the same basic thing, but they have whole different flourishes, and it's wonderful, and I love that. So yeah. No, there isn't anything new, but that's okay. Because we have so much stuff that we could just kind of cycle through it, and there's always something that seems new.
Well, and every subject responds differently to things. That was just
every hypnotee responds differently to things. Yep. Yes,
they respond to suggestions different ways. I mean, I think probably one of the most impactful areas that I saw for 2020 Charmed was when I saw the demonstration where I think Noelle got placed up against the wall. Or no, I think there was fear. There was multiple emotions being played out. Somebody was stuck to the wall and laughing so hard that they couldn't stop. Somebody was going through fear. I mean, it was fantastic. And for somebody who had never really been in hypnosis before, it was mind-blowing that the human body, the human mind could do something like this. And to them, it was 100% real, 100% going on.
Isn't that something?
Oh. That's the reason why it's all fun, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I know, right? So, I mean, really, I guess one of the last questions I kind of had for you is, what's one of the biggest changes you've seen happen over the years? I mean, obviously, more and more people have come out being a fan of either hypno kink or hypnosis in general, erotic hypnosis. But, I mean, do you think that it's been, like, the advent of technology, like closing the distance with voice chat and audio chat, the internet, what do you feel has really changed a lot?
Well, I mean, the internet made it possible to actually transfer with people without being in the same physical space.
Right.
So that's big, but that's been around for a while now, really. Yeah. And for a long time, that was it. So when I think of the community, I tend to think of the people getting together. Yeah. And the biggest change there has to be the consent culture. When we started getting together way back when, things were still playing pretty fast and loose. We didn't really think a whole lot before we acted. We just got, hey, you want to see something cool? Watch this. And consent, it's there, right? So seeing that come out, and some people say we've swung too far. We're asking for too much, but that's part of maturing. So it's been really good to see that mature, to hear people talk about, oh, well, are you okay if I do this, this, and this? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. It's that simple, and it's at the same time, of course, a challenge because there are some people who just don't get it or don't want to get it. And some of them are names like Ninja and certain other people that I probably shouldn't mention.
Leave those conversations alone. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've got ethics, and we're getting the word out, and the people that don't agree with those ethics are getting slowly weeded out. So that's good. That's very good. And I can't praise that enough. So that's the biggest probably and the most important change. Now, as far as education goes, people know a lot more. And I like to think that the cons are a large part of that. I've told people before, and I still, to this day, will swear by this. Our recreational hypnotists, our amateur hypnotists, are better trained in hypnosis than 80% of the professional hypnotists. I am convinced of this. And I'm not just saying that as somebody that teaches kinky hypnotists. Just the people that go to cons and play, or go to groups and just play in their groups. There is a level of expertise there that goes beyond just what the basic professionals are taught. Now, that's a sad statement if you're a professional, right? But it's a hell of a good one if you're in the recreational community.
Well, it's passion. Passion drives the knowledge. I mean, that was one thing that as soon as I got back from Charmed was trying to figure out how to grow my skills, how to learn more, how to just trance a doorknob. The thing that everybody tells you, well, if you're going to be on the other side, just start talking and trance all the time, and trance your chair and trance your couch, and all of these things. You spend that time versus it being a clinical or just a professional thing. You do it because it's fun. It's something you enjoy.
Yeah. So that's lovely, and I want to see that continue. I mean, hey, not throwing shade at the professionals, but they need to get their shit together. Yeah. They need to come to a couple of our hypnocons and go, holy shit, I didn't know that.
Actually, 2020 Charmed, I met a guy who was, I think he was a clinical hypnotherapist, and he had never really done erotic hypnosis until he started getting involved with Charmed. And he was just, his mind was blown, the amount of differences between the two, and getting his mindset out of the, here's the clinical world and moving into more of the fun play stuff. I'm sure it's an absolute amazing change. But at the same time, it's got to be just exciting as hell.
I love nothing more than corrupting my fellow professionals.
That should be a tagline motto for your email. I love corrupting my fellow professionals. I like them.
Yes.
All right. So Charm 2021 returns online on January 15th through the 17th, 2021.
Yes.
Which is...
Wait a minute. That's only 3 days. There's a pre-con, so that's either the day before or the day of.
14th or 15th.
Now I'm like blanking on it, so I have to actually look at a calendar. I'm lame.
I think that you're
lame.
Yes,
so we'll start January 14th.
Okay.
And it will finish up January 17th. We are going to have expanded hours so that Secret Subject doesn't have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I'm sure she'll be very appreciative of that.
Well, not just her. I mean, the Europeans who are all ahead of us, they can have classes that happen in their evening or afternoon, and that's cool too, or their afternoon or morning. But yeah, we're going to be a little more open to accommodating time zones because we can. So we'll do it.
Awesome. Well, and you said, like you pointed out, it's only going to be $15 for registration through the end of November.
Yep, and then it goes up to $25, I believe, and you can still get a $5 discount for belonging to Black Rose or any of, I think there's God, I don't even know how many affiliated groups, but if you belong to Tess, if you belong to Neela, if you belong to Janus Society, and pretty much any major kink organization, it's good for that $5 discount.
And if you act now and just jump right on this offer, you can get the pre-con completely free.
That's right.
Awesome.
Or if you buy your ticket the day before the event, you get the pre-con completely free.
We want everybody to feel included. That's the way it works.
Well, that's one of the freedoms of doing things online, right?
Yep. That way you don't have to just transport.
Awesome. And is this a great year to do this or what? Since inauguration is going to take up that week anyway?
Ooh, I would not want to be living downtown when that happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk about all of this. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to the convention as much as I am.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking the time to come listen today. We'll be back with more conversations here in the near future. And don't forget, you still have time to pick up your tickets for Charmed Online 2021, coming January 14th through 17th, 2021.